You're listening to episode 47 of the Master Your Mind, Business, and Life podcast. I'm going to be super straightforward and say I don't know how I held it together for this week's conversation. The excitement was nearly overwhelming. If you know me well, you know I love sports. I always have. I really love football, though. It's the one sport I follow with passion. If you know me really well, you know I rock hard with the Pittsburgh Steelers. While I admire the perseverance and mental and physical strength of athletes, I'm always more impressed with what they do off the field. This week's guest caught my eye years ago. He wasn't only putting in work when it came to pursuing his NFL dreams, he's also a philanthropist, devoted husband, father, man of faith, and all-around dope guy. I was so grateful to sit down and talk to one of my favorite athletes who announced his retirement exactly 1 month ago today on June 10th, the defensive beast, 9-year NFL veteran Arthur Moats. I'm not sure I ever laughed so much during a conversation, but Arthur radiates positive energy and fun, and those are two things I am down for always. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. If you're back for another episode, I appreciate you. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher, or wherever you stream podcasts. If you're on social media, connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at MindBizLife. Okay, are you ready to dive into a conversation about faith, family, and of course, football? You know what to do. Tune in, turn it up, let's go.
You're listening to Master Your Mind, Business, and Life. Conversations with everyday world shifters, truth seekers, and rule breakers. Here's your host, Lauren Smith.
Hey everyone, it's Lauren Smith. Welcome back to another episode. Today, Lordy, today I'm going to have to try and keep my excitement at bay because we have retired 9-year NFL veteran Arthur Moats on this show. Arthur, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, appreciate you having me. You know, being on with a JMU Duke is a pleasant surprise. Yeah.
I feel like I don't even have to tell you how happy I am to have you on this podcast, but before we get started, I think you should know we have some similarities between us. So you ready to let me hit you with them? Okay.
Definitely.
We are both the same age. We're 88 babies.
Oh, okay. I like it.
I know. I like it. I think
Best year ever.
I'm saying it really is. I mean, people underestimate it, but it really is. I think it's also fair to say that we both grew up in the church. Your parents are pastors, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. My parents are so heavily involved.
Oh,
I
awesome.
hope
Okay.
this next fact, the interwebs didn't steer me wrong on this. But, you know, sometimes it's a little tricky. But at the age of 17, we both experienced our parents divorcing.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah.
No, look at you doing your research. Okay.
Yeah, I gotta do it. Yeah, but I thought it was like kind of interesting because I'm always really grateful that I had the childhood with my family together.
Absolutely.
But then like to start adulthood as like a different family dynamic.
Drastically different.
Whew,
yes.
Yeah. It's a little different. So next fact, we were both poli-sci majors in college.
Yes.
But I changed mine 2 more times after that. I started there though.
See, you started there. I ended there.
Really? You didn't start
this year's no. So I came in for biochemistry. I switched to communication, then education, and then I was like, you know what, poli-sci is where it's going to be.
Oh my goodness. I did poli-sci business and then ended up with communication.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's funny.
Okay, so last one, you're quite the comedian, and I'm not trying to say I'm hilarious or anything, but, you know, I'm pretty funny too.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's just get down to business. I saw that this week you were inspiring and coaching the youth at the Steelers youth football camp. So let's just do a little bit of a rewind and talk young Arthur Moats first. So how old were you when you started playing football?
Oh, let's see. I was around 4 years old. That was like when I want to say officially started doing like the flag football and stuff like that. Then by 5, started doing the tackle football. Started a little early.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was something I was always passionate about. I was able to communicate that with my parents early on that this is what I wanted to do in terms of being a professional football player. And they were all for it. So Yeah, they signed me up early, and there was plenty of times where
just supported your dream from the get-go.
I mean, it was a rough start though. I remember, especially when I first started out playing flag football, it was this girl. She would kill me. Oh,
you got crushed by a girl on the field?
It was like the Little Giants. I'm telling you, this girl was like Becky the Icebox off the Little Giants. She would destroy me. It got to the point my dad was like, "Yo, if you can get just one flag, I'll give you $1." And I might have had $3 by the end of the season. If that, it was bad.
I wonder where this girl is today. Like,
I don't know, but she was awesome. She was one of the best players I've ever played against. I just got to set the tone right now.
Wow. Did you play any other sports, or like you found football and that was it?
So early on, I was strictly football. Once I got to high school, I spread it out because I love just sports in general. So when I got to high school, I played 5 sports my junior and senior year. I did football, basketball and wrestling at the same time, and then soccer and track at the same time as well.
Dang.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Overachiever.
But it was fun though.
I know.
Everything I did from a sports standpoint was geared towards me becoming a better football player. So with basketball, you're working on your footwork, your conditioning. Wrestling, you're working on the hand-to-hand combat, understanding leverage. Soccer, footwork. And then track is the speed aspect. So all of those things work towards me being a better football player. Because like I said, early on, I knew that this is what I wanted to do when I got older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. Wow. Look at you. I think as a young athlete, we really have to learn a positive mindset.
Absolutely.
And that mindset can make or break you regardless of your skill set. You could be the most talented person in the world, but if you have a crappy attitude, no one's going to listen to you. So how was a positive mindset not only encouraged, but demonstrated when you were a child?
Oh, man. So that was a good one for me. It started with both my parents. Like I said, they were both pastors, but more so with my father, who was a former Marine. He served 13 years. So for him, he instilled all of those positive mind qualities in me early on in terms of no matter how rough the situation is, you're going to come out of it. No matter how bad it may look, no matter how much the odds will be stacked against you, you're going to come through this because you're good enough, because you put the work in, because nobody can stop you from being great. And it was just hearing those things over and over as a young kid. You're like, oh, absolutely. Let's go with it. Yeah. And then from my mom's side, like I said, with both of them being pastors, she would hit the religious aspect and be like, you're somebody because God doesn't make junk. You're somebody because, God took his time to make you. And these are all the things that I would hear over and over as a young person. So as I progressed through life, I mean, those are all the things that I believed wholeheartedly. And I think that positive mentality will ultimately help me be successful.
Yeah. It's like you had Les Brown and Mother Teresa, like, both on your side. Like motivating and like spreading that like positivity.
I was very fortunate growing up, man.
Yeah. So spirituality definitely takes a forefront in my life. I believe that we have to have faith in something bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely.
So what is the role of spirituality in your life?
Oh man, like you said, believing in something bigger than us. I'm a Christian, so for me growing up, it was always believing in God, believing that regardless of the situation, I know that number one, he's never going to put more on me than I can bear. And that I know he's always going to help me come through it. And when you think about just the Bible in general, it was so many characters that I could relate to in the Bible that had went through trials and tribulations, ups and downs, and still found ways to be successful. So for me, I just took all the things that I learned in that regard and just put them part of my daily life. And I still continue it that way as well. Wow.
So what keeps you humble and grounded? Because you're really humble.
I try to be humble. I appreciate that.
You are really humble.
For me, man, I think the biggest thing is just I've been on the other side before. I've been, in the inner city housing, super low income. I've seen some very rough times growing up versus from my family standpoint, a financial standpoint, even from an athletic ability standpoint. So for me, now that I was able to have a ton of success collegiately, have success in the NFL, I never took it for granted because I said to myself, I've been on the other side of that thing where you aren't the glamorous guy, where people don't, want your autograph. People don't care about you in that regard. So for me, I just really have that appreciation for it.
Oh, I love that. So you're definitely not a rookie when it comes to marriage or parenthood, but how has life changed since becoming a husband and a father?
Man, so for me, I think the biggest thing was just it helped me mature a lot. I feel like when you're young, especially me, I was young, going into my first year in the NFL. You like to test the market, see what's out there. you get in trouble sometimes. So for me, I felt it really slowed me down in terms of, number one, being more mature. Number two, understanding the financial responsibilities. You hear so many times about NFL players, blowing their money, going broke because you do a lot of dumb stuff. At 21, the amount of money they give you, I mean, it's something that you've never seen, nor can your parents even fathom. So you don't know who you can talk to. And you're surrounded by other guys who are in that same position, spending a ton of money on nice cars and all these other things. They can't give you
that advice. Yeah.
Right. So for me, when I got married, I had an older person now who was able to kind of guide me in that regard. And then when I had the kids to come along with it, it was just like, okay, now I really have responsibilities. It's not just, oh, if I lose this money, I have to take a loss. I feel like I can always get it back. But for the kids, now they're negatively affected by it. And I always told myself that whenever I made it to this position, I was going to make sure that I changed the dynamic for my family from a generational wealth standpoint.
Oh, I love that. Because there's so much generational karma that sometimes just carry on with us. And money is a big one. How we do it, how we spend it, just the energy of money.
Absolutely.
Totally. So I really try to preach and teach and demonstrate kindness as a parent. Is there a core virtue that you really try to instill in your kids?
Oh, man. Honestly, the team aspect and the love aspect. Number one, when I speak of team, we're a family. So regardless of what your brother or sister may do, you always ride with them. You always make sure that you help support them through the good and the bad. No matter what it is, no matter how big or small it may be, it's important to them.
Right.
Support them in it. And then the love aspect. No matter, how much y'all disagree with each other, no matter how much you guys fight and fuss, stuff like that, at the end of the day, you're going to love your brother and sister. They're going to love you back infinitely because y'all are blood, because y'all have that type of relationship. And that's kind of how I grew up as well. Me and my sister and brother, I mean, we had plenty of disagreements, fights, all type of stuff.
Sure, yeah.
Absolutely. But the one thing that we always said was, I might talk bad about you. I might, we might get in a fighting, but if anyone else come out and try to say something to you, it's on. We got you. Don't ever worry about that.
Right.
So that's just the same type of qualities I try to instill in my kids.
I love that. Yeah. My older sister was always, and still is the same way. She could say something about me, but don't you dare. Don't even open your mouth. Don't even open my mouth. Yeah. But you gained a lot of my respect off the field. So when I saw that you were getting your master's, I was like, okay, I see you. This dude is smart, not just from always going back to his master standpoint, but I could see that you were thinking long term, the game's going to end for you at some point.
Absolutely.
So, what, I don't know. I guess to me, it just shows that you really value education. That is a core value of yours. Yeah. Why is education so important to you?
Man, well, education is huge for a couple of reasons. First off, not only were my parents pastors, but they were both educators growing up. My father's been a high school teacher for going on 30 years now. My mom has done early childhood for probably 10, 15 years as well. So they were always big on education. They were always big on understanding your mind is more powerful than anything you could ever do. The more you feed it, the more you grow it, the better you can be in terms of being successful. Right. So for me, they always instilled that in me. And by no stretch of the imagination was I ever one of those kids who could just wake up and get an A on the test without studying. I wanted to never have to work countless hours, study, make note cards, do all this stuff to get good grades. So for me, it became more so once I went back to JMU after my rookie year to finish my undergrad, I felt okay, I was becoming complacent. And I always talk about, hey, you never want to be complacent in anything that you do, right? You always have to, strive to be great. Whatever it is, strive to continue to grow and get better at things. And I was once I reached that bachelor's degree, I was man, I'm being complacent again. I'm just chilling. I'm not really trying to push myself from an educational standpoint. Yeah. And I felt like a hypocrite when I'm going to talk to kids and tell them they got to push themselves. So for me, I was well, you know what? I can send a message here, right? I was I can go and get this master's degree while I'm playing. And not only will that show the kids that, hey, not only do I verbally talk about the importance of education, I'm physically showing you it, but I can also inspire the adult who's married, who has kids, who's in their career and doesn't feel like they can accomplish getting that master's degree or going back and getting their bachelor's degree. I was like, man, there's so many online programs out that, hey, you can make time for it. And for me, I always felt like it was important to do it while playing, because I felt like if I would have waited till I retired to go get the master's, like, well, you're retired now. It's easy to do it.
Yeah, right.
But when you're doing it while playing, while being a starter, while having a wife, while having kids, I think all of that just added to it. And that was the real purpose behind it.
Yeah. It's tough too to have all those responsibilities and have to go back and do that.
Well, as a parent, absolutely. Entrepreneur, you definitely know how it goes. Man.
Yeah.
It's hard to do from an energy standpoint.
Right.
I mean, you're drained. Yeah.
That's truly the hardest aspect.
Yes.
Is like,
absolutely.
Like you have a lot mentally going on, and to like find one more piece of space for that in your mind. Like, how do I do it? Yeah.
Right.
I had my oldest daughter in college. So I finished college. I actually became an entrepreneur before I graduated college. But I was like,
that's awesome, man.
To me,
that is awesome.
When I told one of my professors, she was like, oh, so you're going to take the semester off? I was like, no. I gotta finish this. Pell Grant. I have so much money to spend. Like, we're finishing this for sure. So, but let's expand upon an area that you just excel at, and that's community outreach. It is clearly something that you're passionate about. You've given back in some big ways. JMU for the new combo,
Go Dukes,
which is finally being built, and scholarship as well. And then, of course, Ronald McDonald House, United Way. I feel like the list could go on. Every time I turn around, you're doing something for charity. And I know you don't do it for the recognition,
right?
But it hasn't gone unnoticed.
I appreciate it too. I will say that I do appreciate it.
Yeah. So what have you learned from the value of serving your community? And when did you really start to do this?
Well, it's funny that, when we first started talking, we were talking about early on your childhood, right? So for me, that's where it all started at. With my parents, on the Saturdays or sometimes Sunday after church, we would go into the inner city communities and just hand out loaves of bread. We would tell the people that Jesus loves them. And literally that would be it. But I remember going into these neighborhoods and you're nervous because they're, the lowest of the lows, a lot of crime and stuff. And you're nervous, like, man, what if I get shot? What if, somebody beats me up while I'm out here?
Right.
And when you knock on their door, they're very defensive because they don't know you. They want to know, like, what's your angle? Why are you here? But to see just how they would let their guard down and how positively impacted they would be by that simple gift of bread. For me, I was like, wow, when I got, more resources and I got a larger platform, I said, I wanted to continue this and do it on a larger scale.
Right.
So when I got to the NFL and I got this platform, I felt like now I had that chance to really make an impact. And I said to myself, how do I know, just by me doing our appearance at some school or showing up to a football camp, that could change the trajectory of a kid's life. That could be the difference between this kid going down one path that'll lead to destruction and the other path of him being a successful person, husband, father, whatever it may be. Right. So for me, when I think about that, I'm always like, you know what? Absolutely, I'm going to give up my time to go do something in the community because you never know who you're going to impact. Yeah. And I've been fortunate enough now for some of the stuff to start coming full circle, now that we're talking our age a little bit. So, for example, I did Big Brothers Big Sisters program when I was at JMU. Yeah. And recently, my little brother, who was 6 when I met him, just recently graduated high school. Whoa. And like just having those conversations, crazy, right? Wow. Then we had a football camp that I would host in my hometown in the Tidewater area of Virginia. One of the kids from there recently graduated college. He's like, I started playing football there because of you. I had success at Towson University because of you. And I just graduated. I'm just like, wow. Like, it's crazy when it comes to
feel good moments. Yeah.
But definitely. Yes. Yeah. And it validates the reason why you do it. It's like, you know what? This is why I wanted to do the community outreach. This is why I wanted to invest my time. So that way I can hear these stories of guys being successful because of that hour to 2 hours. Right. It didn't take long, but just that little bit was enough. And that's why, I'm just always passionate about it.
And you never know when someone's watching you or like you're the role model. Yeah. Like they may be like, oh, thanks for coming. But like deep down, they're just like, whoa, like that changed my life. Or
Absolutely.
You just never know. And I always say, like, you change one person's life, that in itself is a ripple effect for every person
no question.
you're going to come in contact with.
No question. And it's the paying it forward aspect of it, right?
Yeah. I love that. So, okay, I've kind of held off long enough. Can we talk football now? Can we talk football?
Absolutely. Listen, you got the Steelers banner in the back. I was over as soon as it was like, go Dukes, here we go Steelers, whichever one we want to go with.
We're going to go both. We'll go both.
You know?
We're going to go both. I know my oldest daughter, she's like, can I come in and say JMU? Okay, maybe at the end. Okay, like, that's what she wanted. That's all she wanted. So it's like, maybe at the end I'll come in. So, I'm just going to skip straight forward to your time with the Steelers. I mean, I know there was some other team that you played with, but you really took a big leap of faith when it came to signing with the Steelers. You signed a veterans contract. So really you just had to put your faith and trust into the organization.
Yeah.
What made you lean into that decision?
Yeah. So for me, when you just talk about the setup of that at the moment, like I said, coming off of my 4th season in Buffalo, going into free agency, my wife we just had our 2nd child at the time. So it was a lot of uncertainties and we weren't financially set. Like a lot of people always assume that, when you get to the NFL, you're rich. And it's like, no, like it's a build-up process to get like the nicer contracts. And a lot of guys don't ever reach that point. But the one reason why I decided to come to Pittsburgh instead of following my defensive coordinator at the time who went to Cleveland was 2 things. I said, number one, the organization. It was way more stable when you looked from top to bottom, same ownership, same management, same coaches for, 10 plus years.
Right.
So for me, I was like, I love that. Whereas at Cleveland, it was the same situation in Buffalo, constant turnover. You never knew who was going to be the coach or the manager. And all that can be very detrimental to a player's growth and development.
Right.
Then the second thing was my personal relationship with Coach Tomlin. With both of us being from our same hometown, we already knew each other. Anytime we would play them when I was in Buffalo, and obviously he was with the Steelers, we would always have talks, before the game or after the game. So we always had a rapport. Right. And he was the guy who pretty much told me, like, hey, I know it sounds crazy, but if you come here, you're going to switch positions. I can't guarantee you a spot, but if you beat the guys out and you produce this year, we'll take care of you with a contract.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This is crazy.
Oh my God.
Everything in my mind is like, yo, don't do it. Go with the safe bet.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? Like, I can't live in my fears. I have to go after what I know. And that was what it was. And I really felt it was going to be an opportunity for me to display what I can be as a player. Because I said, if you're a linebacker, if you play defense, everyone knows the Steelers are historically known for defense and linebackers in particular. So I'm like, if you can play there, you can play anywhere. And that was my mindset. So I took the jump and it worked out. But
so it sounded like your ego was like, don't do it.
Oh yeah.
But like you just knew, like, this is it.
Absolutely. And the thing too, it's like the pressure of the family situation. Like I said, having our 2nd child just being born.
You have to make sure you're doing the right thing.
Right. And then financially not being at the place where you're like, well, we don't ever have to work again. We weren't at that point then. It was like, no, we still got to keep this thing going. So all of these factors are playing in. And it's like, when you're taking a 1-year deal at that stage, it's pivotal because if it doesn't work out, your career could essentially be over.
Right.
So you're really like, man, like, do I really want to bet on myself? And guys always talk about, you got to bet on yourself. And I'm like,
it's risky still.
Let's do it. Like man.
Close your eyes and cross your fingers.
Like, hey, man, we either going to fly or we going to die. It's one of the other, but something about to happen.
We doing it. We're all in. But it turned out great. It turned out great.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite on-field memories of you was an at-home game against the Ravens. When you sacked Flacco, I guess it was like 2014. I can still play it back in my mind. And
Monday Night Football.
Yes. It was such. Do you have a favorite on-field memory as well?
Oh, man. So that's funny that you say that. I actually love that play, in particular because of Flacco, because he was a quarterback that I sacked at JMU when he played for Delaware, got him in Buffalo when I was with the Bills, and then came to Pittsburgh and got him. So he was always like, that was a huge thing for me. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But
your first sack in Buffalo, was he the first one that you sack?
Yeah, he was my first one. Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yes.
I didn't
So
realize
for me,
that.
I was, it was versus the Ravens. It would have been the 4th or 5th game of the season, actually, down in Baltimore. Yeah.
Dang.
So it was crazy.
Yeah,
So
I love that one.
Me,
I just remember that one.
Yeah. And then for me, I was laughing because that was my first like Monday night football game. So it was like a big deal for me because Buffalo never played on prime time. So for me, I was like, oh man, like this moment is crazy. Yeah. And I remember getting the sack. My daughter my oldest at the time, like I had just visited her school. And they were like, yo, do this dance where you shake your butt after you get a sack. So I like do that on camera and they go crazy. Like everything about that was just awesome. So,
that whole game was awesome. There was like 10 sacks that game. Oh God, yeah.
Yes.
Like,
ran them up out of it. It was an awesome game. But for me, I guess my 2 favorite like on-field moments, especially in Pittsburgh, number 1 would have been that same 2014 season. We beat Cincinnati to win the division, last game of the year. We got flexed into a Sunday night game. That was my first time ever winning a division, ever making it to the playoffs in the NFL. So that was a huge moment. And then my second one would have been 2017 after Ryan Shazier got hurt. We go into the next week. We have to beat Baltimore to clinch the division, make it to the playoffs. I end up having to switch positions that week. We sign a guy off the street. He comes in and we kind of just rally around each other and find a way to win. And I remember like just that feeling of like we did it for him, us being able to go back into the hospital, you know, that same day, that same night with the hat, with the t-shirt form, like, yo, we did this for you. Like for us, like for me in particular, that was a huge moment. So those are the ones that stick out the most to me right now.
Oh man, I love that. I'm sure like it was just like the vibes all around were so good that night. Just
absolutely.
Like smiles,
because you think like the winning divisions in the NFL is hard.
Right.
Making it to the playoffs is hard. But then when you factor in the personal adversity of one of your brothers being in the hospital.
Right.
And like how his whole life essentially changed. Now you're like, man, like it just adds that much more to it. Right. So the fact that we were able to rally around each other and rally around him and win it for him and bring that to him and just see how, you know, he was smiling, see how happy he was the whole process. Like those are the things that I'm always like, yo, I'm really proud of that moment because we did it for him.
Yeah. And what a determined guy too. Like,
man,
not enough. That's like a podcast for a whole different time.
Question.
Like, we could just go down that rabbit hole. Yeah. So strong mentally, like overcoming so much.
Absolutely.
So when you were released from the Cardinals, you went back to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
What made you go back to Pittsburgh?
So honestly, I really didn't want to go out to Arizona prior to the season. I was already like contemplating retirement. Yeah. And when I went out there, I ended up getting hurt. So I had to do what they call the injury settlement. So they classify like you have to technically sign like a release from it. But the injury settlement was basically us both agreeing that, hey, I've been out for 6 weeks. You could just pay me the rest. I'll go rehab on my own. I want to go home. Yeah. And they're like, okay, cool. It gets me off the books. Yeah. So that's essentially what happened in that. But for me, like I said, I knew I wanted to stay in Pittsburgh. Yeah. And after we played on my contract here, it was just like, man, I really, like I said, I just didn't want to go. Yeah. But I still had that little bit left of wanting to play. So me and my wife were like, well, you know what? At least go take the chance, go see what it's like, see if you like it or not. And like I said, it was a cool situation, but for me, I just knew my heart wasn't out there. And then the distance too, like my family was still on the East Coast. So the time difference being away. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I didn't realize that. Okay. That makes it a lot easier to go back home then.
Right. So that was really the big factor in doing the injury settlement. Cause it was like, you could stay out there and do your rehab and all of that, but you'd have to stay in Arizona. Yeah. And for me, I'm like, yo, I want to go home.
Yeah. You're a big family guy too. So like, I didn't even realize that they didn't go with you. I would just have thought like family in tow.
Well, initially, so the thing was, if we would have decided to sign out there earlier, then they would have came. But I signed out there like literally the last week of July. Cause at the time I was really probably 85% on the fence of like retiring.
Right.
And it was just like, well, I still got that a little bit of, I want to, want to get it up out my system. Right. And that's when they called me like, oh, okay, well, we'll go check it out. But yeah, for me, I was like, being away from the family, cross country, I'm good on that.
So what like made you just come to terms with, I'm going to retire? Because this is pretty new. Like I feel cool having this interview 2 weeks
Absolutely.
after you announced
It's fresh right now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the JMU connection. You know what I mean? That's what it is. But for me, the biggest deciding factor was, like I said, going into my last year in Pittsburgh, this would have been 17. I was already kind of thinking about it, right? But I kept saying, I still have that desire to play. I still have that desire to, do the day-to-day grind, not just show up on Sundays, but be a professional.
Yeah.
And last year, it was getting harder for me to do that. Not from an on-field play standpoint. That was never an issue. But me having that desire to wake up and go do the workouts, me having that desire to watch the countless hours of film, me having the desire to have a proper diet. Those are the things that I wasn't as passionate about anymore. And for me, I'm like, I love the game too much to ever cheat it in terms of just showing up on Sundays and not putting in the work on Monday through Saturday. Yeah. And I've seen people do that before. And I'm like, for me, I don't want to just do that just for the sake of getting a check. I don't want to do that just for the sake of saying, I still play. So for me, that's why I decided to walk away. And I'm like, could I still probably play another 2 years? Easily. But for me, I know I don't want to wake up right now and go work out in the morning. I don't want to, like I said, be away from the family. I don't want to do all the sacrifices that come with that. So that's why, out of respect, I'm like, you know what, I'd rather just step away. But the beauty of the media, I still get to be around the game, and that's what I'm loving right now.
Yeah. How does your family feel about retirement? Are they loving you home all the time?
Yeah. Well, so far, so good. The funny thing is...
they're not sick of you yet.
well, the funny thing is this. I actually haven't been as free as I thought because, like, once I did the announcement, I started doing a lot of the media stuff. So I was doing a radio show every day with the Steelers during their OTA practices. Then I also had started my own the Moats show through like my social media channels and a podcast as well. Right. So it was like a ton of media stuff still going on. Yeah. So I still haven't really had the whole I'm retired and I'm just sitting at the house moment yet. It's like, hey, I'm going to see you. I'm leaving in about an hour. I'll be back in like 2 hours. Yeah. Versus when you're playing, it's like, all right, guys, it's 6 a.m. I'll see y'all at 6 o'clock tonight. Yeah. So that's the biggest difference right now.
Oh, man. I love it. So do you think you're going to see yourself coaching? Is that a possibility?
No. So this is why. So I honestly, you acquire a ton of knowledge from the game. I'm able to motivate people and things like that. But for me, the hours that I put in as a player, I mean, over those 9 years, I missed so much in terms of like my family, my kids, big moments like that. And as a coach, you're going to have even more time away. And it's less job certainty. In the NFL, the players run the league. The players are the ones who have all the job security. The coaches, they'll get rid of them whenever. So I'm like, why would I want to hop back into that, instability from a coaching standpoint as well and have to spend more time away after I just got done doing that. So that was really why I was like, I really would never want to be a coach, especially right now. But that's why I lean more towards the media side because I can still be around the game. I can still study the game and talk the game, but I don't have to have the same type of time commitments to it. Whereas a coach or a player would have. Yeah,
I've heard you on Steelers Nation.
I appreciate you tuning in. Okay,
I got really excited yesterday. My kids brought in the mail and they were like, the Steelers sent you something. And I was like, what? Because my oldest daughter, I had tweeted, this is like 2 or 3 years ago. She had said, she's never going to get married unless the guy is a Steelers fan. And I was like, I backed that up 100%.
Okay. I like that.
I tweeted it. The Steelers retweeted it and then sent me a message. And they're like, we'd like to send Skylar something. So they sent her a $100 gift card.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
A letter and an AB like bobblehead guy.
Yeah.
So it was funny that she chose to spend her $100 gift card on a Connor jersey. And this is like, first time, like rookie player. Yeah. Everyone was like, why Connor? And she was like, oh my gosh, he's so amazing. And you had announced him. So it's like full circle moment for her. Yeah. So when she got this letter, she's like, oh my God, the Steelers sent another letter. I'm like, oh my God, like, what now? Like what's happening now? Right. I had hit the Hall of Fame level on Steeler Nation Unites. Like they just sent like a little certificate and I like opened it. I was like, it's a certificate. And I was like, That's it? Like,
it's no money here, no gift card?
Like so high from the
man.
last time, but
that is funny.
So I hear you. You know, you've done the Steeler Nation Radio and the Arthur Moats show now.
I appreciate that.
What else is going? Like, what do you have lined up? Like, I know media, you're getting into it. So, what's your plan?
Man, so I still have, like I said, working on doing something full term with the Steelers as far as doing both radio and some of their social media stuff.
Yeah.
I will be calling a couple of the JMU games this year as well, doing some color commentary, getting into the booth a little bit. So definitely excited about that. And then I'm still in, like I said, some talks in terms of doing some in-studio analyst stuff here in the Pittsburgh area as well. So I got a lot of things that are like about to, you know, be officially rolled out over the next week or so. So, you know, just enjoying it, taking it all in, and getting ready for a very busy football season.
Yeah, you know, you're a great speaker as well. Like I've noticed.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you. You know, but I noticed like a lot of times, like the Steelers would pick you to like almost be like a spokesperson, to, like say things. But I'm like, you're just so well spoken. So media it feels like the next best thing. Like from a fan standpoint, I'm like, this.
I appreciate that.
It makes a lot of sense. So Arthur, if you could leave a thought nugget of inspiration for our audience today, what would that be? Man,
I'll say two things. Number one, regardless of the situation you're in, regardless of how successful you are, or if you may feel that you're not all the way where you want to be, just keep pushing forward, keep being great, because regardless of that, your efforts are always going to pay off. You are going to make that whatever you're trying to accomplish. If it's being a CEO, if it's being a great husband, if it's being a great father, if it's being a great wife, whatever it may be, you're going to be able to accomplish these things as long as you stay true to yourself. And then the second thing is know that you're good enough. People are always going to doubt you, and that's normal. People doubt what they don't understand. People fear what they don't understand. But you know what you possess, and everybody has a specific set of traits that makes them unique. So just believe in yourself, know that you're good enough, and that you'll accomplish whatever you truly put your mind to.
Oh, I love that, because I go back to worth a lot, because if you just like don't really focus on your worth, like don't expect someone else to tell you how worthy you are. Like that's totally an internal.
Exactly.
Thing. Yeah, you got to fill your own cup up first.
Yes. Yes, but and the thing is, everybody has that inside of them, though. Yeah. Like you have something that's unique to you that nobody else has. I have something unique to me that nobody else has, and you have to believe in it, because I'm sure when you were going through your situation of being pregnant, like you said, having your first child while you were in college, I'm sure there's plenty of people that doubted you that you could be successful. Plenty of people that question your judgment. And same for me, when I told you I wanted to be an NFL player, plenty of people doubted me. Plenty of people like
super cute.
Yeah, sure. They're like, oh, so what else do you want to do? That's what I say. Well, what's your other plan? But for me, man, just understanding that, hey, I had a belief that I could accomplish what people say I can't. I can accomplish what people view as unthinkable. Right. And I feel like everybody has that same type of power and capability, but you really have to believe it. And you have to truly know that deep down, you're good enough to do that. And as long as you do that, man, you'll be fine.
Have you thought about being a motivational speaker? I mean, like, maybe that's like the next
I might add that up there too.
Just go ahead and hound it all in. Like sign up for the media tour. I go.
There we go.
Front row. Here I am. You would definitely rock it. Well, will you tell our listeners where they can connect with you further? Check out your website, media, all that.
Yeah. So I have ArthurMoats55.com is the website. ArthurMoats55.com. And then also on my social media, DaBody52. That's DABODY52. And that's on Instagram and Twitter. And I'm on Facebook as well. So connect with me. I always connect back.
Love it. Arthur, your energy is contagious. I love that you're just shifting the world by leading by example. Like that's one of my favorite things. I wish you so many more blessings. Thank you so much.
I definitely appreciate it.
Taking the time to do this with me.
Definitely.
I love it. Thank you. Seriously, how can you walk away from this conversation without a smile on your face? Arthur made my daughter Skylar's entire day, or maybe month, probably even her entire year. After we finished recording, I asked him if I could go grab my kiddos to come say hi. Callie was a little too shy, but Sky, she jumped right in, said hi, followed by yelling, JMU, to which Arthur replied, Dukes. She'll be telling everyone about this moment for a while. No doubt about it. For direct links to Arthur's website and social channels, head over to this week's episode notes found on mindbizlife.com. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend or even on social media. Let's get this podcast into the homes, cars, and earbuds of many. I'll see you back here next week for another episode, and until then, remember, every level of life is an opportunity to grow. Be well, my friend.